I love reading, and reading by the pool, even better.
But here's the thing. At this hotel, the book isn't the only thing telling a story. The space itself has a lot to say. In a city of towering buildings and jaw-dropping architecture, skylines aren't the only things changing in Qatar. The next chapters of the country are already being written. Could the future of hospitality be less about where you stay and more about what stays with you? I'm Laila Humaira, and this is Qatar in Motion.
Did you know that Qatar has one of the highest numbers of hotel rooms in the GCC? According to Cushman & Wakefield, the number of hotel keys in Qatar hit a record of 40,000 at the start of the year. It's a huge milestone, but an underrated trend in the tourism industry is quietly driving a shift. Staycations. This trend has gone through a bit of a renaissance. Staycations aren't just simple getaways anymore. People are seeking meaningful experiences, even if it's just a day or two.
Well, the newest additions to the Lusail skyline are these two imposing towers, which look like they have emerged from the shore's edge. The facade itself is a statement, a conversation starter. Behind me is the Rosewood Doha, Qatar's newest luxury hotel.
From the inconspicuous wooden box on the shelves to the light fixtures and vintage finds, this hotel's approach to hospitality is hidden in plain sight.
Nowadays, luxury, it's about relationship experience, but not in your face. You don't realize, but everything is planned and is beautiful place. And I think we have built that into the Rosewood Doha, right? And how we created that experience that represents Qatar on a modern canvas.
As one of the leading hotel brands in the world, it's no surprise that the recent opening has created quite a buzz.
So far, the feedback has been exceptionally good. Part of that success, right, is on our first 60 days of opening. 90% of our occupancy is coming from staycations.
So, what's making the hotel the most talked about in town? Well, let me show you. Nearly 600 of these lush, modern and stylish suites. Asaya, a members-only wellness club. It has a dining area, a pool, a well-equipped gym, and spa, among other things. And a culinary collection. Asian, Mediterranean, seafood, pastries, you name it. But today, I'm feeling peckish for some Peking duck. Kumadam is one of 8 F&B offerings here at the Rosewood Doha. Inspired by 1920s Shanghai, the restaurant was named after the fashion icon, Madame Wellington Koo. Blending vintage glam and elegant traditions, Kumadam serves decadent specialties like roasted duck, hand-pulled noodles, and tea ceremonies. There's only one tea sommelier in the hotel, and her job goes beyond blending, brewing, and serving specialty teas. She's helping to keep the ancient ritual alive.
The art of tea making, it's a traditional ceremony that has been in the Chinese culture for over centuries. It's a way to show respect between the host to the guest.
While the preparations may look simple, not all tea blends are the same, and they're all sourced directly from China.
So we see the tea ceremony as a way of storytelling rather than just serving a tea on a cup of tea from the pot. So we have a tea sommelier that actually is in charge of this ceremony and on training the team, because we want to make sure that everything has a meaning.
The hotel's interior takes you on many different journeys, but the exterior of the structure also has its own lore. The man behind the facade masterpiece is very well known in Qatar. Ibrahim Al Jaida has designed and restored hotels, stadiums, mosques, community spaces, and museums all around the region. But this is his latest project that has been brought to life.
Tell us about the vision that you had building the facade of the Rosewood Hotel, like corals coming out from the seabed. Tell us about that vision.
In the past, we look at our architectural identity as a skin of a building. But now, with time and with the evolution of the development of architecture in our region and in Qatar in particular, we're sort of redefining identity, our nature's identity, our sand dunes, and the sea is a very important part of our history. Our ancestors were pearl divers, so the depth of the sea is so important for us. The treasures of the sea are so important. So I wanted to utilize the coral reefs, but put it into a context to where I still can screen the building, reduce the sun glare, yet in a story that really belongs to our environment and to our identity.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the sustainability aspect that you looked into to make sure that those features are in the building?
Well, sustainability now is not a sort of a marketing thing for Lusail and for Doha. It's a legislation. An important part was how to reduce the sun glare, which we started talking about how the skin of the building started behaving. That's inspired by the corals. Then you go a little bit more into details, which your typical visitor may not see directly, but how efficient is the water consumption, how efficient is the electrical consumption. In the past, they tend to put a glass building and pump energy to cool it down. Now with the screening, you reduce that substantially.
How do you think architecture will continue to grow and develop in Qatar? And what do you hope for the next generation of Qatari architects to follow in the legacy of your footsteps?
A new vocabulary for this younger generation is developed, and I see the younger architects are really getting inspired of the vast sources of inspiration, whether it's our desert or our sea, the Tao. There is so much to dig in and to be inspired from into our culture. And that, I think, is going to create a wonderful direction into contemporary Qatari architecture.
Ibrahim's mission to preserve Qatar's architectural language is echoed by Rosewood Doha. The hotel made itself a canvas for Qatari artists to showcase their talent, tell their stories, and display their heritage.
For the China Wear, we partner with Emergis, right? And Emergis helped us to find two local artisans, Gada and Noor, that both of them have prepared the China Wear for the residents and for the houses.
Aptly named Treasures of Land and Sea, Gada Al Qatar's art collection displayed at the Rosewood is among many of her works she describes as very personal.
I did a collection inspired by the marine life of Qatar. Each set is a fish with its name and a corresponding pattern. The hamur is a fish that usually is found under rocks, and you can find them 3 to 4 meters deep. In the composition, you will see them sitting low on the plates. The fish, when you try and attempt to catch them, they jump. And so I tried to reflect that in the movement. The bowls and the curves came from movements of waves and the plants you find and corals you find in the sea. I'm very deeply connected to the sea and the ocean. My great-grandfather was a pearl merchant, and we live in a coastal city. I grew up in a culture and in a tradition that is very oral. So our history is transferred orally. And just between a generation of my father and my grandfather, so much has been lost. So I'm trying to create the things I wish I'd seen or I wish my parents have done for their moment in time. Then maybe in 100 years' time, people can see, what Qatar was about in this given moment. I think it's an artist's responsibility sometimes to reflect that. I thought of creating a collection that instigates a conversation between people. The idea is to create its curiosity and beauty merged together. For people to learn something, especially about Qatar, they don't get to see or learn from anywhere else. I would like to continue my work in showcasing my culture, both Arab and Qatari, in documenting and archiving.
Architecture and art, two key pillars for building a unique hospitality experience. But how will the industry continue to evolve? And what role does Qatar play on the global stage? Well, I'm putting those questions to Hospitality Qatar, the premium hospitality event gathering industry leaders, stakeholders, and innovators all in one place. Hospitality Qatar marks its 10th edition next month, and I caught up with the organizers ahead of the festivities.
Qatar as a state and subsequently Qatar Tourism as an authority, they have a very ambitious plan to turn Qatar into a top touristic destination by 2030 by hosting almost 7 million visitors by then. The exhibition is trying to accompany this growth, this development. We are focusing more and more in the past 2 years and going forward on the skills aspect, on the technology aspect also, to go towards a smarter, greener, more sustainable industry. For the very first time ever, actually, Hospitality Qatar is going to host the Bocuse d'Or competition. Chefs from different institutions in Qatar are going to compete to select a winner who's eventually going to represent Qatar culinary scene in the regional and hopefully in the final later in 2027.
Well, it's clear that Qatar is creating something special at the intersection of hospitality, tourism, and architecture, embracing trends but elevating the experience to stay ahead of the curve. That's all for now, but thanks for watching Qatar in Motion. See you next time.